Good morning, my fellow Namibians. This is General Michael Amushelelo speaking, the People's General. Now, today I'm making this video, first of all, to inform the nation. There's a couple of issues that I want to discuss, but the first issue that I want to discuss with is regarding the housing and land occupation that was supposed to take place tomorrow. Now, I would like to inform the nation that the housing and land occupation has been put on hold for now. The reason why we have put it on hold is because when we went to court, that was last week, the court gave an order that the status quo must remain and that government must now start negotiating with Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters in order to solve this housing and land crisis that there is. So what I'll do is I'll write a letter next week again to the Minister of Urban and Rural Development, Erastus Utoni, to inform him about the court order and in order for them to set a date in order for us to meet. Now, if government fails to adhere to meeting with us, then sadly we'll be forced to put up a new date. In fact, we're not going to announce the date. We are just going to go and occupy those houses. So government must not think we're joking around. That's the first issue that I wanted to give clarity on. Now, the second issue that I would like to discuss is that there's currently an ongoing debate about pensioners who must receive 3,000 Namibian dollars. And people are saying there is not enough money in government, and there's a bunch of stories going around. Now, let me just quickly educate many of us, especially many of us who do not understand how systems function and how things actually work. Now, the problem why we don't have money in this country is because we've got a few people living lavish. And when I say few living lavish, these few people are living lavish as a result of our tax money. Now, go now to many parastatals. And for those of you who don't know what parastatals are basically companies owned by taxpayers. These are what you call state-owned enterprises. Most of the state-owned enterprises in this country, they are failing, meaning that they are not performing as they are supposed to. But go and look at the salaries of those people who are failing those state-owned enterprises. Their salaries on a yearly basis, if a CEO is paid little money, it's about 3 million Namibian dollars per year. So that simply means that the average salary is about 350,000 Namibian dollars per month. Now, how is it possible that we can comfortably pay someone a monthly salary of 350,000 Namibian dollars, knowing very well that this person is running a company into the ground? This company is not giving any returns on investment. What does that mean? That simply means that these companies must be bailed out each and every single year. Guess by who? Our taxpayers' money. Now, there is money in this country. Sadly, the money is abused, it's misused, and guess what? Most of it is just stolen. Money gets stolen in this country, left, right, and center. There is no doubt about it. Now, there is nothing wrong to give pensioners 3,000 per month, because 3,000 per month is not even enough for a pensioner. Let us be honest. If we have to look at pensioners who live here in Windhoek, if that pensioner has a house, your water and electricity, plus your rates and taxes, already on a monthly basis, they are more than 2,000 just here in Windhoek. Now, if you are giving an old person 1,400 per month, how do you honestly expect this person to be able to afford to pay their water, electricity, and still pay their rates and taxes with 1,400? So 3,000 is still an insult because it's not sufficient enough for our people. Now let me tell you the reality and let me tell you the truth. Lucas Pohamba, our former president, who was president from 2005 until 2015, he gets a pension from government of approximately 8 million per year. And on top of that, he still gets all of his bills are still paid by the government. He still has bodyguards that drive him around. He still has a police vehicle, or not police vehicles, but he still has his bulletproof cars and everything that he gets from government. Now, the founding father, Sam Naujoma, he gets approximately about 10 million per year. This is how much he gets. Now, you guys can do the maths. If you divide it by 12, how much on an average he gets? He almost gets about 800,000 per month. Now, why is it that these two old pensioners must receive 10 million and 8 million in pension, while old people who really need the money, they are only receiving 1,400? Now remember, when these guys were working, they never used to use their salaries, because the day you become president, you don't need to use your salary, because guess what? Government pays literally for everything. When you travel, you still get your S&T. That's why you see our late president, when he used to travel a lot, his S&T, he can get as much as 4 million from S&T in a year. And that means that his salary, he could have just been saving it for the day he retires. So either we are absolutely stupid or we are absolutely foolish to be condoning such kind of nonsensical things. If someone worked for government and they retire, if their pension cannot take care of them, taxpayers must no longer be taking care of these politicians. Because this is part of the problem why we cannot increase pension for our old people. Because these guys are literally milking the pot dry. Now let me tell you another interesting thing. These guys established an office called the Ministry of Veteran Affairs. Now guess what? Those guys are also receiving money from the Ministry of Veteran Affairs, because apparently, guess what? They fought for this country. So now this guy is receiving money from the government to take care of him on a monthly basis, and then he receives on top of that money from the Ministry of Veteran Affairs. And then he has still his own pension and many other shares and money that they've stolen from government. And that is why right now they are busy saying that we cannot increase money for pensioners to 3,000. Now, let us understand very well. Namibia is a very, very, very resourceful and rich country. In terms of mineral resources, we are rich. Now, if we just take the diamonds, I don't want to even focus on the fish. I don't want to focus on any other things. Let's just take the diamonds. Our diamond sales on an annual basis, they bring in a revenue of 23 billion Namibian dollars per year. Listen to me. The diamonds that we sell, they bring in each year 22 billion Namibian dollars. But because we don't own the diamonds belong to De Beers. We own a small fraction. Apparently it's a 50-50 deal, but it's not honestly a 50-50 deal, because we are getting way less than that 22 billion that we sell our diamonds for. Now, let's quickly move to the gold. There is a company called B2 Gold. It's a Canadian-owned company. Now, this Canadian-owned company, they sell gold worth 38 billion each year. Listen to me, 38, meaning 38 billion worth of gold. That's what we sell each year. But because we don't have ownership of that mine, we only get this Nyakati money that is called a few taxes. So there is enough resources in this country. But because we have a weak government that doesn't care about its people, our resources are just being exploited And soon, very, very soon, those mines are all going to close and we are going to remain even much more poorer than we currently have. So what needs to be done is to say that all mines in this country, if you have been operating your mine in our country, and let's say you build your mine like, let me give the classical example. B2 Gold was built at a cost of about approximately 4 billion Namibian dollars. It's less, it was actually 3 billion. But for interest's sake, let's say it was built for 4 billion. Now, for how many years have they been operating in our country? They've been operating for a very long time. Meaning that they've gotten their money that they put into that investment. So by now we're supposed to say, Chief, you have gotten your money back and you even made profits. So now this mine, we are officially taking it over so that it can benefit our people. Because you cannot just be sending our gold to Canada, to Britain, and to America while our people are poor. We're not supposed to be living in shacks, aka microwaves and deep freezers, kambashus. We're not supposed to be living like that. Each and every single Namibian was supposed to have a proper house. We're supposed to have proper jobs in order for us to be able to take care of ourselves. But because we've got leaders who don't have an understanding of how things actually work, that's why they are busy selling our resources and our people into exploitation. So we as the people must start to understand that if we don't change this corrupt government that we currently have, majority of us are going to continue to suffer. And we are going to suffer even worse. All of a sudden, we've started hearing reports again that in the Kavango, there are still people who recently died as a result of not having proper food to eat. Can you imagine in a country with less than 3 million people, with all these resources that we have, with all this land that we have, but people are still going hungry? But just now, over the weekend, for the funeral of the late president, there were catering companies that were paid millions of dollars just to give people food for one day. But we cannot give those people who do not have food on a daily basis. Why can't we feed people on a daily basis? Why are we not sending our children to the best universities in the world? In fact, we don't even need to send them to the best universities. If we just go there by Tsumeb, Grootfontein, that area where white farmers are currently farming, why can we not send our people to those white farmers? So that those white farmers, we give them an ultimatum to say, are you going to educate our people on how to farm, or must we take our farm bags? Best believe me, those white people are going to train us and they are going to make sure we get the best training possible. We can even go to Stampret, which is this side of the south. There are farmers growing tomatoes, cabbages, you mention it. They are growing all types of food. So why is it that our people have to go hungry when we've got the land, we've got the resources, but clearly we do not have loving leaders? Because the problem is, once you have leaders in position who are happy and comfortable getting nice salaries, you know, it's easy to forget. If you have been in government for the last 34 years, receiving a salary, you get driven, you don't put petrol in your car, the clothes that you wear, the government buys for you, you have a card just for entertainment, meaning that when this other people come from other countries, you take them to the best restaurants, all paid for by taxpayers. You don't care about the people who are suffering. You don't care about the people who don't have anything to eat. Because you, every day you go eat at a restaurant. Because you have a card just for entertainment. It's not even your salary. This one is just for entertainment, just to eat. And then every time you go anywhere to do your own work, you still get paid SNT. That's why you've got ministers like Itak and Jim Murangi who are just eating millions from SNT. They are even demanding companies or state-owned companies such as UNAM, and NAST, and many others to say, hey, you must pay for my trip to Thailand or you must pay to my trip to China. They are just eating money. While we have students who want to go and study, but they don't have the money because there is no money at NASFAF to fund all the students. Do we ever ask ourselves a serious question? If all the students who are in grade 12 and now this funny AS nonsense level that you guys have introduced, if all those learners passed their school, where are these learners going to study if we don't have enough universities for our people? That's why I believe most of these learners are not failing because they have failed. The system is saying they have failed because there is no enough space to take our children and accommodate them in the universities. So that's why they'll first look at the surnames to say, okay, this one is the child of a minister, this one is a child of a businessman, okay, this one can pass because this one can afford to pay for university. But the children of the poor, fail. Why? So that apparently you go to NAMCO, which is also a government-owned institution, so that they can go and milk you more money. And then after that, that's when you can go to university. Like, if we do not use our common sense just to think theoretically about certain situations, you are going to realize that this system was not built for the poor. This system is a capitalist system built only for those who have the means. And for as long as we continue being ignorant, and I'll keep repeating this until it sinks in, ignorance is poverty. If you are ignorant, best believe me, you are creating poverty for yourself. So it must be understood that there are sufficient resources in this country for all the old people and for everyone in this country. Now, I'd like to quickly highlight something for you guys. And I'm quickly going to skim through my constitution. Now, there's a specific chapter. Please, Google the Namibian Constitution. It's on the internet, it's for free. Please download it and start reading it. Now, for those of you who don't understand how the Constitution works, it's like a storybook. There are chapters in that Constitution. So I'm going to speak about chapter 11 of the Namibian Constitutions. And it basically speaks about the principles of state policy. Now, for those of you who don't understand what are state policies, these are basically policies of a country. What a country ought to be and what things should be done. Now, Article 95 of the Namibian Constitution, which speaks about the promotion of the welfare of the people. Now, this is the very same article under this sub-article that gives our people an old age pension. Remember, the pension does not come from SWAPO. If today we have a new government, there will still be pension for old people because the Constitution says that you must pay people a pension. It's not SWAPO that's paying people a pension. No, they are just following what the Constitution says. And the Constitution is the supreme law of the country. For those of you who don't have an understanding. And that's why most of our old people have been brainwashed to say that if you don't vote for SWAPO, you are not going to get a pension because the pension comes from SWAPO. And all these years, this propaganda has been told, this lie has been told, and that's why you'll find when old people are in the queue, they are just looking for that maniki. They are just looking for Ongonyo Mombada. That's what they are looking for. Because someone lied to them to say, if you don't vote there, you will no longer get a pension. So please start educating our old people. Make them understand to say that, Meme, even if you don't vote for this current corrupt government, this government of fat kids, you will still get your pension. In fact, if another government comes into power that has the understanding and possesses the necessary leadership qualities, your pension will even increase because the resources of this country are now going to be equally shared with the people. Make our old people understand. Now, I'm not going to bore you with a lot of things, but what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to speak about what's fundamental in Article 95 of the Namibian Constitution. Now, I'm quickly going to read subsection F or section F of Article 95, which reads as follows. Insurance that every citizen, no, my apologies, insurance that senior citizens are entitled and do receive a regular pension adequate for the maintenance of a decent standard of living and the enjoyment of social and cultural opportunities. Now, this is very fundamental. The Constitution is saying that old people must be paid an adequate pension, which is sufficient enough for them to enjoy as social and cultural opportunities, and which is also adequate in order for them to maintain a decent standard of living. Now, guys, it's a shame that in this country we do not have people who take on this current corrupt government. Because by virtue of that statement, 1,400 per month for old people is not adequate to maintain a decent standard of living. Because how on 1,400 do you maintain a decent standard of living if the food price, just the combo, just your average combo, if you go now into a shop, and the combo usually just have top score, sugar, I don't know what else, cooking oil, and a few other things. But that combo is already at 800. Now, if you pay an old person 1,400 per month, and from that 1,400, they must pay for their water, they must pay for their electricity. If they are renting, they must also pay their rent. How do these old people survive with that little money that they get paid? And on top of that, they must still buy food. Guys, it's not adequate. So meaning that the current government is violating the rights of old people because they are not adhering to paying our people an adequate salary that is sufficient enough for them to maintain an adequate, decent standard of living. You cannot at 1,400. Because if 1,400 was enough, why are we not paying Sam Nyoma and Lucas Pohamba, Hifike Punye Pohamba, also 1,400, if it is enough for old people? Why must Sam receive 10 million and why must Hifike Punye Pohamba receive 8 million? Remember, our constitution says we are all equal. So if we are all equal, then why are some monkeys being treated more important than other monkeys? Why is it that some monkeys feel that they are above the other monkeys? Because as far as I'm concerned, monkey see, monkey does. So if you are going to pay the two former presidents 10 million and 8 million respectively, because they are old and they are now obviously need money to be taken care of, then let us pay all the old people in our country 10 million and 8 million. So if we know for a fact that 1,400 is not enough for Pohamba and for Nuyoma, then why do these people think that 1,400 is enough for our old people, for our grandmothers, for our fathers, for our mothers, our aunties, our uncles? Some of our sisters are beyond 60. Some of our brothers are beyond 60. So why does this government think that that is enough for our people, but it's not enough for their own people? So for as long as we don't understand and we do not read our constitution, many of us are not going to know what's actually happening. Now I'm going to move to the next point. And this one is a very important point. And that's why last year we had a demonstration against unemployment in this country. Now, Article 95, which speaks to the promotion of the welfare of the people, there is Section G, which speaks about the enactment of legislation to ensure that the unemployed, the incapacitated, the indigent, and the disadvantaged are accorded such social benefits and amenities as are determined by Parliament to be just and affordable with due regard to the resources of the state. Now, let me explain to you what this actually is. In this country, if you are disabled, those who are disabled, they get grants from the government. That's where it comes from. It's from this section that I just read. If you are marginalized or disadvantaged, like let's say you are Himba or you are from the San community, you also receive money because you are from those communities. And further on, you also receive money if you are vulnerable, meaning that you come from a poor family, you have a lot of children, and then your children, they get registered and they also start receiving funds. Now, this is what is very interesting. The first category of persons that's spoken about in that category is the unemployed, meaning that the unemployed people in this country are also supposed to be receiving social grants or social benefits from the government. But because many of us are ignorant of our rights, that's why you don't know that if you are unemployed, the government is actually supposed to be giving you money for being unemployed. Because it is the responsibility of a government to ensure that you have a decent job that pays you a decent salary. Guys, the whole purpose of being in government is to run your country in such a manner that your people have proper houses, they have proper schools, they have proper clinics, there are industries, there are factories, and there is enough jobs for people in your country. That's the purpose of a government. That's why our late president, aka Halwendo, he used to fly around the world going to look for what? For investors. To come and do what? To come and invest in our country so that the people can have what? So that the people can have jobs. So whose job is it for people to have jobs? It's the government's job. But because these guys, when they go and negotiate for these investors to come, they receive shares, they get paid bribes, and then this guy saying, but my boss, why must we create a factory where we must employ 10,000 people when we can just build a factory where we put in machines and then we don't have to pay salaries? These are the problems. And as a result, most of our people are unemployed because these investors who are coming in, they're not even real investors. Let's look, example, at these Indians, these Rani Indians. We can't call those idiots investors. Those guys who pay our people 800 per month, 900 per month. You can't call such a person an investor. An investor is someone who comes to set up a manufacturing factory. Meaning what? Meaning that this person will be producing heads like this. They'll be producing calculators. They'll be producing mouse. They'll be producing a bunch of things. Maybe a remote for the aircon, all of these things. And then they do what? Then they give them, they sell them to your people. So that your people are now the ones who are selling this product. So what we'll do is we go and buy these products from the manufacturer, and then us, we are in the retail sector in order for us to sell. Now someone comes from India and they are coming to sell Indian rice, and you want to call that person an investor. If someone is coming from India, let them come manufacture laptops. Let them come and manufacture computers. Let them teach us how to grow rice so that we don't have to import rice. These are the things they are supposed to come and do. That's when you can call these people investors. But now the guy comes, sets up a shop, go and buys his product from Coke, buy his beer from Heineken and buy his top score from Namib Mills, and now you want to say this guy is an investor? Are we being for real? Are we serious in this country? You can't call that an investor. This is someone who's coming to take the opportunities that were supposed to be taken by Namibians. But because we have a nonsensical government that just gets paid bribes and doesn't care about the people, that's why you will realize all these investors that we are getting, they are nonsensical investors. So my fellow Namibians, download the Namibian Constitution so that you can be able to educate yourself. Because if you don't educate yourself, if you continue being ignorant, ignorant is poverty. Thank you for watching. Please share the video so that we educate other Namibians on knowing their rights and understanding their rights. And that's the only way we can be able to progress as a nation. Because an ignorant nation is a nation that is doomed to perish. They say people perish as a result of a lack of knowledge. Our country is perishing because we lack knowledge and understanding. We lack knowledge and understanding. And that's why this country is in so much poverty, it's in so much suffering, and for as long as we the people are ignorant, then we are going to perish. Thank you. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.